Hi everyone, just wanted to do a quick little whatever thing update before this movie review. I just want to do a big shout out to Radio 915. I'm wearing their t-shirt that they gave me. I did an interview on their podcast on Tuesday, and that's up on their YouTube channel and their podcast, the podcast app or whatever that you use. That interview is up now. They talked about gaming, politics, interviewed me about the show that I'm going to be in coming up on my line, and how I got started in sewing and other shenanigans. So give them a like on Facebook, Radio 915. Check them out on the podcast, and I will leave a link to their YouTube channel in this description. Hey everyone, so here's the newest video for the month of whatever. We're going to do a movie review, movies you should know. This is one of my top, I have a lot of top favorites. I don't know. This is like pretty high up there. What I'm talking about is the 1992 movie called Death Becomes Her. It stars Bruce Willis, Meryl Streep, and Goldie Hawn. Some fun facts about this movie before I kind of get into it. I was researching this, and then I have a link below for the trailer of the movie if you haven't seen it before. So I do want to give some facts out, maybe interest you to watch the movie, and then, you know, if you haven't seen it, you could stop after the facts, or if you've seen it, you can continue on with the review, which will have insane spoilers. So basically, this movie was directed by Robert Zemeckis. He was a writer on like Back to the Future. He's done a bunch of movies. He did a lot of Tales from the Crypt. Worked on a lot of episodes for Tales of the Crypt, from the Crypt. In fact, in the trailer, which I didn't notice until I did some research on this, I had never seen the trailer. Or maybe I did when I was little and I just don't remember this. But the music in the trailer is that same Danny Elfman Tales from the Crypt intro music, which I thought was like really weird. And apparently, this wasn't supposed to be a movie. It was supposed to be like an episode type Tales of the Crypt-ish movie, and then it just ended up being made into a full-length feature film, which I'm glad, because this movie is so fucking funny. The chemistry between Bruce Willis, Meryl Streep, and Goldie Hawn, it's just those three, it is so, they work so well together. It's just hilarious. And then with the visual effects, even for the time, 92, the effects were pretty good. Even I don't know how many practical effects they used, but it seemed a good mixture, which I guess maybe why it makes this movie kind of a cult classic and timeless. They won the 1993 Oscar for Best Visual Effects for this film, which of course tells you what kind of quality we're dealing here with. It's kind of about like, it deals with Hollywood, which I think is kind of it's an old cliche idea, but they make it very new and modern, and it's pretty original. Basically, it's about the living dead in Beverly Hills. Of course, we all know about Hollywood, and you know, youth is everything. You know, you don't want to grow old because then you don't get work and you're not cherished as much anymore as you grow old. So in the movie, it starts Meryl Streep, who plays Madeline Ashton, who is a big Hollywood star, I guess, when she was younger, and then, you know, she's still kind of famous as she gets older at that present time in the movie, but she's struggling with the issue of just growing older and aging. That does not sit well with her at all, because her character is just this like, and I was writing these down as I was making this movie. It's like, God, I didn't have enough space on my paper to write all the horrible things Madeline Ashton's character embodies. She's selfish, jealous, she's vengeful, she's petty, she's rude, she's vain, like, she's just a terrible person. She's a terrible person. And then comes her friend. Basically, they're frenemies. They're just trying to outdo each other, probably since they became friends. You know, some women, some men do this. They keep these kind of friendships, and it's toxic and it's sick. And it's basically the downfall of these two women in the end, their vanity and pettiness towards each other. So then Madeline Ashton's friend is Helen Sharp. Seems in the beginning of the movie, you know, kind of a reserved woman, kind of insecure, you know, she kind of lives in the shadow of her friend Malin Ashton, but she also is a great writer apparently, and she has talent. And she takes her fiance, Bruce Willis, whose character is Ernest Menville. He's a very famous, very talented plastic surgeon. Now, the movie begins in the 80s. She takes her fiance, Ernest Menville, to pass the Madeline Ashton test. You know, it opens up at when they're on the Broadway show Songbird, and Malin Ashton is dancing around and doing her thing to like shitty disco music, and like you see everyone in the theater is just leaving. You know, have you ever been to a show where it's just so terrible you just walk out? It's like that. No one likes it except for Ernest Menville. He obviously has the Madeline Ashton thing. So anyways, she takes, you know, Goldie Hawn's character takes him to meet her, and of course, because he is attached to Helen Sharp, Madeline Ashton is just like, well, here's my time to take this bitch. Plus Ernest Menville comes as a plus because he's a plastic surgeon, and that just goes so well with, you know, the Hollywood type. Like, she needs a plastic surgeon to do her face to keep her young for as long as possible. So, you know, the next scene, they get married and what. And so, like, the next scene is like, it's like 7 years later. They do this like 7 years later thing a couple times. After the marriage scene, like, Madeline Ashton just, well, actually, I would say Helen Sharp allows Madeline Ashton to just destroy her life, right? Like, she fucking destroys her life. In the next scene, you see the fat Helen, which is, you know, she's cat lady, she's poor, she has her, and stop me if I'm wrong, but I believe her cupboards are just filled with cake frosting, and she's literally just eating cake frosting all day long, getting fucking obese, just obsessing over Madeline Ashton as she watches this movie. I'm gonna guess like a million times of this scene where Madeline Ashton is being like choked to death in the movie, and she loves it, right? Anyway, she gets arrested or evicted for not paying her rent or something. She ends up in the crazy house, right? So anyways, she has a breakthrough with her therapist after 6 months, and then here it comes again, like the other 7 years later, and now we see where's Ernest and where's Madeline. They're living in this huge house in Beverly Hills. They seem to be successful money-wise, I guess, but really their marriage is just like falling apart because Madeline Ashton, as I said before, her character is just a fucking evil ass bitch. Like, she chewed this man up, spit him out, made him into an alcoholic. Like, he's just a shell of a man. He's not even a man anymore. He's just like a shell of a man because she's just used him up and spit him out. Like, she got what she needed out of him. Why they never divorced prior to that, I guess Goldie Hawn character kind of explains that later in the movie. Like, they're in California. Like, if they were to divorce, she would get, I guess, like automatic alimony, or she could take half of what he owns. So maybe that's why they never got divorced. But anyways, so have my notes. So basically, Madeline Ashton is she's a black hole. If she would kill Ernest, she would be a Black Widow. But since she's not really a murderer yet, she's just like this black hole that consumes everything, and then she spits everything out, and it's destroyed. So anyways, so again with this theme of Hollywood and vanity and superficiality and just, you know, everything matters on the outside: youth, money, fame, all that greed, all that terrible shit. So she goes to the spa, this really high-class spa, which embodies all that, right? Like, there's a weird scene of this guy on some kind of weird Da Vinci type machine where he's like just sitting, and it looks like they're separating blood or putting, I don't know, some weird shit to make him younger, probably. And then Madeline Ashton's talking to the woman that works there, and she's this like gorgeous hot lady. And I always thought it was so funny because I don't know why at that place where she worked at, she faked like this French accent, and then when her boss just kind of appears out of nowhere and it kind of startles them in the room, she drops her French accent, which I find just like, it's funny because it's just, I don't know, it's just funny. If someone could explain why I find that funny. It's just like just like having a French accent makes you sexier and more alluring, or it makes the place more legitimate as some kind of luxury spa. You have to have a French accent. I don't know. I went too far into that, but anyways, it's too funny. So like, Madeline Ashton in the previous scene, she gets, you know, the ticket for Helen's book signing party, right? So there she's going. She's totally gonna fake her marriage and be like, oh, our marriage is so wonderful. Obviously look great again. That's the whole point of going to the spa, because she wanted to outdo Helen, even though in her mind, she was already outdoing Helen, because in her mind, Helen was still this fat lady, you know what I mean? Like this unattractive fat woman. So anyways, they go to the party. And here's one of those funny little characters that they just kind of like throw in there. There's a woman named Vivian at the beginning of the party, and she asks Dr. Menville, like, oh, thank you so much for doing my aunt. You know, it was almost because Ernest is now an undertaker. Obviously, Madeline Ashton has made him to an alcoholic. He can't be a surgeon anymore. So he's like this very famous undertaker. Anyway, so she's like, I want to know your secret. And he tells her the secret's, you know, mannequin spray paint. And she's disgusted. It's kind of like one of those things like, well, bitch, you asked. You don't want to know everyone's secret, because the answer is probably going to be something you don't like. Which she says it again later on when she's looking through Helen Sharp's book, and she's like, I wonder what her secret is. I was like, Vivian, you don't want to know people's secret. You ask too much, you're not going to like the answers. So I just thought she's just like a funny character. She's literally there for like a couple seconds, but that character stays in your mind because just, it's ridiculous. Like, she wants to know everyone's secret. Like, no, you don't, bitch. I guarantee you don't. So obviously, Helen has already taken, well, we find out later, she's taken the potion. So she's all skinny and glamorous and beautiful. Madeline freaks out because she looks way better than she does, obviously, right? Potion does that to you. So again, we find out more about Madeline Ashton's character, which we already know she's a bitch. You know, she lied about her marriage to Helen, saying that it's absolute bliss. Of course, Helen knows the truth. Like, she's ruined Ernest. And then that she's just cheating on her husband all the time. And we meet some dude named Dakota, who cheats on Madeline, and then she flips out and goes driving out into traffic. So here's where she meets that chick Liesel, right? I call this part, you know, screw the natural law. She goes, she's just desperate, she's had enough, whatever. She wants to find out what is this chick selling? What was that guy at the spa telling her about? Like, she's so desperate, she has to find out. So she goes to that chick's house, and that character Liesel, she's like, I guess she's like some kind of sorceress, right? Because it's a potion. She even says it's not science, it's a bit of magic. So obviously this chick is some kind of witch or sorceress. You know, she practices what she preaches, taking care of your body. She's had the potion. She looks amazing. You find out she's like 71 years old, and that pretty much seals the deal for Madeline to pay for this very expensive potion. Which basically, if you think about the movie, the potion is kind of a metaphor for selling your soul to the devil, right? So they pay to take this potion, they sell their soul to the devil, they'll get everything and more that they ever wanted out of life, youth, fame. Because remember, after Helen took that potion, she wrote that book, and she became very famous, which is how she sent the invitations to Madeline, and her book signing party was actually kind of a big deal. One thing I noticed about this, and you know, the origins of the characters is very vague. Like, you can't even begin to imply their background. But I find one thing interesting about Liesel. Okay, so she's in this big mansion castle in Beverly Hills, right? So on the potion, when she brings the potion box out, it's in this box that has an ankh on it. And if you know anything about Egyptology or, you know, history of Egypt or whatever. The Ankh is a symbol for everlasting life. So everlasting life, right? And she even says it, live forever, everlasting life. So I don't know, maybe she's like, I don't know, an Egyptian something, or maybe she learned this from some, you know. That's just my theory on it, because you really don't know where this chick comes from. Especially her, she's the most mysterious character of them all. And then like after she takes the potion, see, this movie is just full of great one-liners. Like this, you know, you have some movies where it's just hilarious, but they're short on the one-liners. This movie is just jam-packed with memorable one-liners. So after she takes the potion, Lisa's like, and now a warning. And then Madeline goes, now a warning? Like, I just drank this bitch, what's gonna happen to me? So she tells her, you know, the rules of after taking the potion. Madeline sees the change in the mirror later. She's just thrilled. And while that's happening, we know that Helen's with Ernest talking about this plan on trying to murder Madeline. I don't really know. I highly doubt it at this point if Helen still has feelings for Ernest. It's just easy to manipulate him because she had been with him before. And obviously, like I said, he's just a shell of a man. So he sees this other beautiful woman after him. He can be easily manipulated. So I really don't know if they had gone through with the plan, if Helen would have stayed with Ernest. Probably not, because she was already turned into this bitter bitch at that point anyways. She was just obsessed with ruining Madeline Ashton the way she had ruined her life. So, I mean, Ernest Menville, this poor guy, this poor dude, he genuinely seems like a decent person who just caught up in this crazy love triangle between these two crazy bitches who just do everything in their power and, you know, just to outdo each other, and it's ridiculous. So, you know, poor dude. Fast forward, it's like some kind of a reoccurring thing that we learned about Madeline. She hates to be called cheap. I guess you could call her a skank or a slut or an ugly rhinoceros, but the thing that triggers her is when you call her cheap. Is it true? Quite possibly. Why else would she be triggered with such a simple word as cheap? And so Ernest snaps, right? Because she's like just badgering him and verbally abusing Ernest. And, you know, since he's already had this pep talk with Helen, that dude snaps, right? He snaps, starts choking Madeline, and she falls down the stairs, and that's when she actually dies, right? So Madeline is now dead. It was like a perfect freak accident. You know, it's what they planned, but it's even better because it's actually a legitimate accident now. So here's where it starts getting like so like fucking funny. So like Bruce Willis is on the phone with Helen. He's like, it's happened. And then you see in the background, Madeline starts getting up, but she's all contorted. She's all fucked up, right? It looks so funny. And she comes up to Ernest. She's like, you pushed me down the stairs. But her like head's turned to her back. And she's all jacked up. And she's trying to walk around the living room, but she can't because she's trying to go forward the right way, but her head's that way, so she's trying to go that. It's just, she's all messed up, and she's like, you're in the shit house now, pal. And then Ernest is freaking out. What? Oh, God. She's like, you wife pusher. It's so funny. And then when she realizes something's funny, she's like, I can see my ass. And he's like, yeah, something's wrong with your neck, too. So he takes her to the emergency room. Such a nice guy, Ernest. His wife fucking hates him and he knows it. And he still does the right thing, right? He still takes her to the hospital where she meets his doctor and he realizes that she's fucking dead. And she's talking to him. And then he ends up dying of a heart attack, right? She freaks the doctor out because he knows, bitch, you're dead. How are you still talking to me? How is this happening? So, again, one-liners. Ernest goes out to the hospital, comes back after trying no luck in finding doctors. His wife's body's gone. He sees another doctor and he's like, she's in the morgue, and she's like, yes, she's in the morgue. He's like, oh my God, she'll be furious. Like, just crazy stuff, right? And it's funny because in my research of this movie, I didn't realize there's so many deleted scenes. In another review that I saw of somebody else, they had the actual DVD case, excuse me. And on the back of it, there's a still frame of a deleted scene where Ernest is taking Madeline out of a freezer to defrost, and he's pulling her up the stairs. So there's so many deleted scenes in this movie. I saw a bunch of clips online, people talking about it. And it's just so strange, like these didn't, there was even supposed to be a part where Tracy Ullman comes out. And if you don't know who Tracy Ullman is, she was this huge British comedian. She helped pretty much put Simpsons on the map when she had her show in the late 80s, early 90s. I used to watch Tracy Ullman show. So there's supposed to be some big scene with Tracy Ullman, which they cut out of the movie. I don't know why. I wish I could have seen it because I really like Tracy Ullman. But anyways, he's going to the morgue, and I've been trying to figure this out. There has to be some kind of significance to this, and if you know what I'm talking about, maybe you can help me out. Is there a significance of like the 3 nuns that are obviously ghosts because they're like floating down the hallway in the morgue when they pass Ernest? Is that like a metaphor for something, like 3 weeping nuns? Could it be because they just came from the morgue and they know that there's something unholy in the morgue and they're just like, fuck this, we can't save this bitch, so they just come out? I mean, is that what that means? I don't know. So anyways, again, Ernest being a really nice guy, he thinks that God has chosen him to be with Madeline as some kind of miracle or miracle worker or something like that, right? So again, nice Ernest Menville takes his dead wife back to the house, the wife that treated him like shit for like 20 years, and he goes and of course does his undertaking plastic surgery magic, and he starts painting her up and fixing her up. So he takes her in there, you know, he's draining her blood, probably filling her up with formaldehyde so she doesn't start decomposing. Because that's the thing Liesl said, you know, take care of her body. Because maybe she knows but doesn't want to say because it would ruin the sales pitch. What actually happens to you when you live forever but you're fucking dead? Like, she doesn't explain this, but we learn this later. Well, you start decomposing and body parts start falling off and you don't look so hot anymore. So anyways, Ernest Menville fixes her up. And if you notice, when she's painting her and she's on the pool table in the rec room, she's reading Helen Sharp's, her rival, she's reading her book and she like throws it aside. I don't know if anybody caught that, but that's in there. So Helen comes to the house. She thinks Madeline's dead because, you know, Ernest already called her, right? And then Madeline ends up shooting her, and now she kills Helen when she comes out of the pool. Another hilarious scene. She's like, I have a hole in my stomach, and then that's when Madeline realizes, well, you must have took the potion. How can you still be alive talking to us and not in pain? So they find out with the little pin that Liesl gives, you know, as a parting gift. You know, take a potion, take this pin as a parting gift, whatever. So they realize that Ernest realizes he's probably made a grave mistake. You know, he's stuck with these 2 bitches again, of course, forever until his death, because now they're going to live forever. And, you know, he could have, you know, he could have gone solo at that point. But, you know, he just stays in his house and he's just like, I'm going to pack up and you chicks deal with this. Helen and Madeline in the living room start fighting, and more hilarious stuff with special effects and just breaking heads, busting, beating each other up with shovels. It's the greatest. And they kind of admit at this point, you know, such a shame they've patched this up now that they're dead, but they finally admit to each other in life that they were just jealous of each other and they hated each other and they were just insecure and all this stuff. So now they know, well, we're going to live forever. Our bodies aren't alive anymore, so we're going to start looking like shit if we don't have Ernest around. So they try and convince Ernest to take the potion at Liesl's. And then at the party, at the garden party or whatever the hell that they have, you see all her clients. She has like Elvis, Marilyn Monroe. I peeped an Andy Warhol and a James Dean in there. Just like all these A-list celebrities from like the past maybe 50 years that have died actually took the potion, and there they are. So basically, Liesl tries to give him the same sales pitch, but here's the thing about Ernest, I think a lot of people notice this. He's an okay guy. He's a man of reason. He's a man of common sense. He's a good-natured person. So she tries to sell him the sales pitch of being young forever, you could work forever, live forever, which is appealing to most superficial, vain people in Hollywood. But Ernest isn't that type of person. So when he tells her, like, and then what? She's like, well, you'll never grow old. And he's like, but yeah, but everyone will die around me. Like, that's so sad. That's not the natural order of things. Like, you're supposed to die eventually. And he's like, who the hell am I going to hang out with? Helen and Madeline? I don't want to hang out with these bitches, you know what I mean? So Liesl's just like, what? No one's ever said that to me. She has like that look on her face like, what? No one's ever said no to me. So, again, Ernest is not the same as her usual clients. So he's like, F this. Here, I don't want your damn potion. I'll grow old and die. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing shameful about growing old. Which is, even though he was a plastic surgeon and gave people youth, he is kind of like Liesl in a way, but he still understands there is a natural order to things, and she's the opposite of that. It's these odd numbers, 7 years, 37 years later. We find out this is during Ernest's funeral, because as he allowed it, he goes with the natural order of things. He died. The preacher's talking about he started a new life at 50. He wouldn't talk about his old life, like his family and friends didn't know anything about him before he was 50, obviously, because he didn't want to talk about Madeline Ashton and Helen Sharp and what he found out about the dark society of Hollywood, which he is privy to. The preacher's talking about all these foundations that Ernest set up, and there's even one that's like Foundation and Study of Women. Like, I found that funny because it's like a study of women, like just women like studying us, trying to figure us out, or what the fuck. I thought that was weird. Anyway, so Madeline, and I guess when you're dead, you can't really be bothered about normal things like common courtesy for others, respectfulness, because these chicks are just fucking disrespectful as hell during this funeral. They're making a lot of noise and laughing when it's not, you're not supposed to laugh during, someone's funeral eulogy, but, they're just like, whatever, fuck it, I don't know. Again, they're just horrible people. They're walking out of the church, right, and they're arguing about, oh, well, you never remember this, you never remember that, you lost your index finger one time. They're walking out all stiff. Obviously, some form of rigor mortis has set in because they're walking nuts, right? They're looking a little Remy, a little not good for 37 years later. So yeah, they're basically gonna live forever. They look terrible. Probably if they went back to a party at that Liesl lady, those people wouldn't even want them in because they would still be technically, they are still alive up until they die. So they wouldn't want these fucking crypt keepers coming in their party. So it's just funny because, and then at the end they just fall down the stairs again, a la Madeline Ashton at the mansion, and they break into a bunch of pieces and they're just twiddling their thumbs in pieces on the floor. They're just like done with life, but life isn't done with them because they're living forever. So again, it's like you're selling your soul to the devil because the poison is magic. Nothing good will come of it. Only greedy, selfish people would take such a thing and not think of the consequences of their actions. So, it's one of my favorite movies. I've been wanting to do another movie review for like the longest time. I've just been really busy, and then the other day I I got this movie and I was just like, I really need to talk about it, because if people haven't seen Death Becomes Her, it is so hilarious. Just if you watch this, you're just talking quotes about this movie, like, oh, you took the potion. And if someone else has seen it, like, they know exactly what you're talking about. In fact, for Halloween, I'm gonna be Helen Sharp after she gets blown with a shotgun through the stomach. So I'm gonna make her top and then put the hole in my stomach and carry around a shovel. So that'll be my Halloween costume, and it fits only right. It was either that or a McDowell's employee from Coming to America. But I thought that Death Becomes Her was just so much more fitting, because that movie is just, it's so hilarious. It's like, it's dark comedy. It's what it is. It's a dark comedy. It's just on another level, and it's just so funny to see Bruce Willis and Meryl Streep be funny with each other, and then Goldie Hawn brings in another element of awesomeness to this movie. So I would highly suggest, if you haven't seen this movie in a long time, obviously if you've sat through this whole review, you should go and see it again. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye-bye.